Hi guys, it's Dr. Denny over at Fort Posset Fulsher Veterinary Clinic, and we're going to be chatting a little bit more about common dog cardiac problems.
Dr. Denny, what are the most common heart diseases in dogs?
So for small dogs, we're going to see mitral valve disease. So that usually ends up, when it progresses, we'll go into left-sided heart failure. In large breed dogs, we can see more dilated cardiomyopathy where the heart muscle gets a little flabby. So if you think about the heart, it has 4 chambers. In between each chamber, there is a valve. So for the mitral valve disease, that's where one of the valves is not working. Like it's not closing all the way against the wall of the heart. So blood is backflowing and we can hear that turbulence. In dilated cardiomyopathy, the heart, the way I explain it is the heart gets a little flabby. Like, instead of being this nice strong muscle, it flops. It's floppy. So it doesn't contract well, blood's not flowing well. This is more a disease of large dog breeds. There's also been some links to feeding boutique, like grain-free diets. So that's why we have a lot of conversations here about grain-free and that we don't understand the correlation 100% yet. But there is a linkage between the two. So those are probably the 2 most common. We can also see arrhythmias in pets. So that's where you have an abnormal heartbeat. So a normal heartbeat is lub-dub, so it's 2 beats. And we can hear arrhythmias where maybe you hear like dum 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 dum. Like it sounds like tennis shoes in a dryer. That would be like VFib, okay, or AFib, like in humans. So we can actually hear these things.
What is a dog heart murmur?
So a murmur is where one of the valves in the heart, so there's 4 chambers, and there's valves in between each chamber, when one of the valves is not closing all the way against the wall of the heart. So here's my hand, pretend this is the wall of the heart. This other hand is the valve, should be closed, open, close, open, close. When it's closed, there's no space there. So when the heart contracts, blood only can go in one direction. If the heart isn't closed, if the valve does not close all the way against the heart muscle, when it contracts, the blood can flow backwards. And we can hear that turbulence as a murmur. So instead of hearing a lub-dub, 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 like a, then I can hear a wish-dub, 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 or a dub-wish, dub-wish. So there's different types of murmurs, but that's indicating that one of the valves is not closing appropriately.
What is dog cardiomyopathy?
So any kind of heart disease. So cardiomyopathy is where we have heart disease. Like DCM or dilated cardiomyopathy is where the heart wall's really flabby. Mitral valve disease is a type of cardiomyopathy because there's a problem with the heart. The end of that word, pathy, P-A-T-H-Y, is actually like a condition, okay? Like a neuropathy, like there's a problem with your nerves. So cardiopathy, like is a cardio heart problem.
Can diet affect my dog's heart health?
So I'm really glad you asked this question. We've touched on it just a couple times. In recent years, there has been a kind of collective study where we have been able to hear from cardiologists all around the world where there seems to be a strong correlation between grain-free diets and dilated cardiomyopathy. Or DCM. There are, we're waiting on the official studies that are going on. Nutritional studies take years, so we're not going to have these results for a while. And a lot of the big pet food companies are just sticking their heads in the sands right now until, because that's how they make their money. The human side's all like grain-free, gluten intolerant, celiac disease, and now they've kind of put that into marketing on the pet food side. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it until now, because I'm seeing cases where dogs are fed primarily grain-free food and they're coming in with murmurs. And if we catch it early enough and we switch off of it, guess what? The murmur goes away. So I'm a believer in it because I'm actively seeing patients with this. If you do have further questions, please feel free to call and schedule in a consult. We can dig into this a little bit deeper. I certainly am not going to argue with you on what you want to feed your dog. My job is just to make sure you have all the information. And my job is also to just make sure that you're making educated decisions about your pet's health.
What is an enlarged heart in dogs?
So it's exactly what it means. So if you've got a heart that's supposed to be yay big, but instead it's this big on x-ray, that's an enlarged heart, okay? Enlarged hearts usually indicate some type of disease, like where one of the chambers is getting too big or too thick, but you should have, and there is breed variations here, but your heart should be only a certain size.
How do you treat an enlarged heart?
So I can't reverse it, okay? But what we can do is we can put dogs on medication where there's severe disease and murmurs or arrhythmias. We can put them on medications to help support heart function. So we can give the heart tools so hopefully the progression of disease slows down. But once you have dilated cardiomyopathy or an enlarged heart, like I can't fix that. Like in humans with really severe heart disease, they go on a transplant list. We don't necessarily, here in Houston, Texas, have the capability to do heart transplants. I'm sure on the horizon in the future that will become a thing, but it's not right now.
What is heart failure in dogs?
So you've got right-sided heart failure and left-sided heart failure, okay? So when the right side of the heart is failing, then we will get fluid backing up into the abdomen. So these dogs will usually have a little bit of a murmur and they will look pregnant. And we have to go in and drain the fluid every once in a while to keep these patients comfortable. Left-sided congestive heart failure is where the left side of the heart is failing. And because it goes backwards, that's where the fluid's gonna go, it goes up into the lungs. So left-sided congestive heart failure is where we get lungs that are filled with fluid. So essentially dogs that are in left-sided congestive heart failure are literally drowning inside of their own bodies. That fluid is building up in their lungs and in their chests, and oxygen cannot diffuse through fluid. So these patients are often extremely sick, have rapid breathing, coughing, and in really, really severe life-threatening cases, you can literally tip them like a teapot and all this fluid comes pouring out through their nose. And usually, unfortunately, once we've hit that point, humane euthanasia, or sometimes they die on us while we're trying to work on them and save them. So, I mean, it's pretty severe, but those are kind of the two types of heart failures. If you have additional questions, or if you believe that your dog may be experiencing one of the two that we just talked about, please call and make an appointment. It's always better to have more information because then you can make an educated decision on how you'd like to move forward. So thanks for listening, guys. If you have questions, give us a call.